We have the interior ministers of Italy, France, Spain, Malta, Cyprus and Greece, all of whom have experience of this because the turmoil that's already engulfed North Africa has affected them greatly, especially Italy. It's seen an influx of refugees, people trying to get out of Tunisia after the crisis that happened there. So they want to be better prepared this time. They are, however, talking about if Gaddafi falls, not when. That's how unpredictable this situation is. That's how much difficulty their European neighbours have in predicting what's going to happen in Libya. But they are trying to prepare. The Italian military have been mobilised. They've been put on a state of high alert, especially in the south of the country, in case there are boatloads of refugees. But also, we've seen the two fighter jets which landed in Malta. So the Italian military are on a heightened state of alert. Really, they're trying to prepare for anything because nobody can quite predict how this situation is going to develop.
Harry, thank you very much indeed. Harry Smith in Rome. Mentioning there the Italian build-up of its military. In fact, the country's sending ships out to form a net around the island of Malta. Malta's only a few hundred kilometres from the Libyan coast. And Cal Perry is there. He joins us now live. I was asking Harry how prepared the Italians are for a huge number of refugees. The same question for you in Malta. Are they ready?
Well, the Italians are basically putting down a front line here, Dave. Naval front line. They've got two warships, the Fenici and the Betica. One of them, we understand, is an assault ship. The other one is a battle cruiser. They're basically patrolling the waters just south of Malta because, of course, we've been hearing reports that there are Libyan warships that are also in these waters. There was some discussions as to whether or not they were defecting or whether or not this was basically Gaddafi sending a message that he didn't want ships coming into this water. Now, the Americans have gone into the main port in Tripoli. They are evacuating citizens as we speak. They're putting people on boats to try to come back here tonight. Unclear what exactly time that'll happen. Italy seems to be leading the charge here on the front lines to try to stop any major influx of people. They're trying to keep the situation under control. And of course, as we heard from Rome, it's not just the situation in Libya, it's the situation in Libya and in Tripoli and in Egypt, and very big concerns. The UNHCR, again, saying potentially 300,000 refugees could be headed this way. So the Italians are worried not only about the humanitarian crisis, but of course the security as well, because it seems as though that is disintegrating just as the humanitarian situation.
All very well to have the boats bringing them in, but once they land, they've got to be looked after. What's in place for them when they get to Malta?
You know, we were talking to a British security specialist yesterday, and what he said was there's a great deal of organization here on the ground at the airport. This is the smallest European Union country, but it seems to be at the focal point of what's going on. At the airport, there's to be setting places to process people through. It's really just a transit area to get foreign nationals back to their original countries. I don't think Malta is at all very interested in having a situation here. It's a very small island, so this is just going to be a transit point. It'll be interesting to see how the Americans, how the British handle things, whether or not they use aircraft carriers, whether or not they set up a no-fly zone. I think the discussion of a no-fly zone is going to be the coming story in the next few days, because in order to get your citizens out of this country, you're going to have to lock down the airspace. At some point, the Americans or the British are going to have to commit to doing that.
Cal Perry in Valletta, thank you very much indeed, on the island of Malta. I'm going to try and run through some of the latest developments, just give you an idea of the overall picture emerging from Libya. This has just reached us here. Libya produces 2% of the world's oil, and most of it goes to the European Union, countries in Europe, very dependent on it. Well, apparently output is down. This is according to the Reuters news agency. Output is down already by 1/4, down by sort of somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000 barrels of oil per day. So the effect of the uprising there already being seen in the oil markets, and many people predicting as a result of this the price of oil could well rise significantly. Another development, mentioned it already, but these are the key points. Italy's foreign minister saying that reports of 1,000 killed in Libya are credible. Franco Frattini's ministry saying it expects up to 300,000 Libyan refugees to reach Italy. And he says, Signor Francini, that Gaddafi's lost his grip in the east, where Tobruk, Beida and Dana are all reported to be under the protesters' control. Libyan soldiers in the east have told Reuters they no longer back Gaddafi. And the European Union says it's pushing for an independent, UN-led investigation. It wants to ensure that those behind the killings of protesters and other human rights abuses are brought to account. Yeah, there's been some talk from the international community about Libya, but little action. The UN Security Council has condemned the Libyan government and is calling for an immediate end to the violence. The Arab League, meanwhile, has barred the country from attending any of its meetings until the violent crackdown stops. So far, no word from the African Union, but it's holding a meeting in Ethiopia, and we are expecting a statement from the AU pretty soon. Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has also waded in to what's happening in Libya, condemning Libya's use of force, urging world leaders to give in, or the leaders there to give in to the demands of their people.
It's hard to imagine there's a person who can kill his own people or bombard them. That's really ugly. I advise strongly that everyone should allow their people to talk and reply to their demands. They lead these people. How can a ruler bombard his own people and then say if anyone speaks out, I'll kill them? This is not acceptable. People should have freedom and decision-making powers in their own future. This is their right. I think everyone in the world is very shocked at what's happening in Libya. It's really bad. I think they should heed the demands of their people. But of course, as we know, anyone who doesn't respect the will of their people, well, their fate is written.
Well, make of that what you will from Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, but that's certainly the way that he sees it. The British Prime Minister, David Cameron, is currently on a visit to Qatar, and he says all countries should condemn the violence in Libya. He wants the UN to bring about solidarity.
Would I like us to go further and have a full United Nations Security Council resolution? Yes, I would. I think that would be good. Do I think that we should send a very clear warning to Colonel Gaddafi and to the Libyan armed forces that what they're doing is wrong and against the law? Yes, I think that we should. But it would be better if the world could move ahead as one, and this could be done through the UN Security Council. That is the best way. But I hope we'll be making further steps over the coming days to make that clear.
That was David Cameron a short while ago. Let's talk to Salman Sheikh, who is from the Doha Brookings Centre, heads up that organisation in Qatar. Cameron says he'd like to see a UN Security Council resolution on this. Why hasn't there been more from the UN so far?
That's a very good question. The UN and the international community is now facing a real test case when it comes to Lebanon. And instead, after many days of doing nothing, the Security Council produces yesterday a very weak press statement. Now, just to explain, a press statement is a non-binding council action. It's not even a presidential statement or, for that matter, a Security Council resolution.
It's almost sort of like noting it in the minutes, is it?
Maybe the minutes are more useful, to be honest with you. And I think we have to talk why that is, and why is the Council being not more progressive. I think David Cameron actually and the UK were actually leading the charge yesterday and the day before for a strong council statement or even a resolution. There was strong language, I think, that we were hearing about, but that was watered down by the Chinese and the Russian